Okay, the first thing you need to do is download all the data in the zip file on Moodle, and then you need to unzip it and save it in a sensible place. It needs to all be in a place where all the files that you have there and the ones that you create are in the same folder. I've named mine Fal GIS and saved it on my local disk C, but you could save it in your documents. Once you've done that, you then need to open Arc Catalog. Mine's down here on the bottom, but yours will be in the Start menu, and you'll find it in your programs there. So it's the Arc with the little set of drawers, and you open Arc Catalog, and what we're going to do here is tell Arc where to find all the data we're using in this exercise. So you click on the Connect to Folder button, navigate to find wherever you saved your folder, and then say OK. It will then appear here like my Fal GIS is, and you can access it and use it. Mine's got some other stuff in it as well, ignore that. And then you can shrink Arc Catalog and open Arc Map 10.2. And it looks like this, but again you'll find it in your Start menu. I'm going to start mine from here. When Arc Map loads, you'll see this Arc Map getting started. Well, you might not get that, but if you do get that, you just click Cancel and it will start a new blank project. And the first thing you need to do with your project is to upload some data. Actually, you often check the properties and look at the coordinate system you're using, and we can use a variety of different coordinate systems. We talked about this last year, or we talked about this before. Don't worry about doing that for this project yet, because one of your layers that you add will set your project, your coordinate system. So first of all, go to Add Data, and the high water polygon folder that you've got, and add the high water polygon, which is the shapefile, and this will give you a file of the UK. Next, you need to zoom in on the Falmouth area and zoom in quite close so you can see it on your screen, like so. If ever you lose your data, it disappears off the screen, like say for example, let me just do something to do that. Say I do this and I've lost my data, and no matter where I go I can't find it because I've got lost. If I go to the file, right click on it and click zoom to layer, I'll zoom back to where it is. Okay, so get the country file in and zoom into the Falmouth area like so, and make sure you've got the file river on there. Okay, next we're going to do some georeferencing. So what you need to do first of all is check the georeferencing toolbar is turned on. So go to Toolbars, like I just did, Customize Toolbars, and check you've got a tick next to georeferencing. If you have, that's great. And then you'll have this georeferencing toolbar somewhere. It might not be here, it might be here, or it might appear when you tick it in the screen. You can drag it and put it into your menu at the top here, but just make sure it's there. Okay, when you've done that, then you need to add some more data, and the data you're adding this time is the Fal River TIFF that's again in the folder there. So click Add, and it will appear, but you won't be able to see it because it's in the wrong place. So what you need to do is we're going to georeference it so it sits in the right place. Okay, so what you're going to do, I'm just trying to get my screen looking in a good position. You are going to go to the georeferencing menu and click Fit to Display. And look, it appears in your display. Okay, and it appears underneath your river map. The next thing you need to do is on the box under high water polygon, make the fill color no color, make the outline color a bit thicker so you can see it obviously. We're going to change this back later, then say OK, and you've got an outline, and you're going to drag your other map and make it fit. So on the georeferencer toolbar, choose the this button here with a red and a green cross on it, and then what you do is you click on a place on your map and you move it to the similar place on the coastline, and you click like that and it will move your map, and you're basically trying to line the map underneath up with the outline of the Fal from your shapefile you added, because the shapefile has a coordinate system and is georeferenced, whereas the map underneath isn't, so you're making it fit your coordinate system. And you're actually working with a custom coordinate system that I created for the southwest that just makes maps look as we expect them to look as we use them in the British National Grid system. So my map's actually now looking quite well matched up, which I'm quite pleased with that. This little thing here is a little bit out of the way, so we're just doing something there. That's it. And so I'm just going to drag that across there, and but that's dragged all that there, so actually I liked it better before because I'm not even using that other bit. If I have a problem, I can just go to here, and my last inputted coordinate I'll just delete. So I can right click, well I can just turn it off actually, like that. Nice and easy. So that's fitting pretty well, particularly because I'm going to be concentrating on using this area here. I'm really happy with that, so I'm going to go georeferencing button, update display, and leave it at that. Having said leave it at that, there's a couple of areas I just want to tweak. I want to move this a little bit across there. And actually when you do this you should probably zoom in. I'm just doing it as a demonstration here, but actually zoom in and just check, because the more time you spend on it, the more accurate your map will be. Although that's looking fairly good. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to create some polygons, some shapes to represent the urban settlements. In order to do that, you need to create a shape layer called urban settlements that you can add data to. So we go to Art Catalog. This is the same Art Catalog we use, but this is a shortcut to it. We check we're in our Fal GIS folder. There it is. So I've got a few folders on here you won't have, so it'll be easier for you. And then within Fal GIS, I right click on that top bit, go to New, Shapefile, Polygon, and I call it Urban Areas. So urban underscore areas. Never use spaces, always use underscores. GIS doesn't like spaces, it will crash your whole project and then you'll have to start again. And then you just say OK, and it will create that polygon layer. I already have one in there called Urban Areas, I believe. Yes, there it is. Yeah, so I'm not going to save this because it will save over that one. I'm going to show you what you've got to do. So I'm going to say cancel, you will say OK. Then you go to Layers, you right click, and you add data, and you add your urban areas. Your one will be blank. My one isn't because I've already drawn my urban areas in, but I will show you how to draw another urban area. I'm going to change the colour because I don't think blue is a good colour for an urban area, so I might have it as like a... So your urban areas have basically got nothing in yet, you have to create them. So in order to create them, you need to use the editing toolbar. That may not be open, so you go to custom toolbars and check there's a tick next to editor. And just like the georeferencer, it'll probably appear here, but you can attach it here, and you can move it around. Hang on, let's click on that bit, so I can actually move mine. It doesn't want to move at the moment. There we go. There we go, that's much more sensible. So I go to editor and I click start editing, and it'll ask me what I want to edit. I want to edit urban areas. Right, it gives me a warning actually about them not having a reference system. But what it'll do is it opens continue editing, and then on the edit toolbar I need to click on this button and I can see my features. I'm just going to get that out of the way a little bit. So I'm going to select urban areas. I want to create polygons, and then I'm going to create a polygon. So what I'm actually going to do is, if I just hide my urban areas a minute underneath so that you can see what I'm doing. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on an area. I've hidden my urban areas so you can't see it. So let's say we're going to create an urban area for Falmouth. So what we're going to do, we're going to click urban areas, we're going to click polygon. Right, so now I'm going to draw a shape basically covering Falmouth. So I'm going to click on my cross, and then as I click carefully around the edge, I will start to create a polygon shape all over Falmouth. Looks a bit odd at the moment because it's going over the sea. That will change as I move up this way. But you basically go all the way around the feature, doing it very quickly. The more points you put in, the more accurate it is. It's always good to be accurate, so take care. I'm doing this as a demonstration and I've already created them, so I'm doing it fairly swiftly. So you go all the way around carefully. It's just catching up with me, that's why the thing's spinning and you can't see the shape developing properly. As soon as I stop it will catch up. But anyway, just quickly whiz around. This is not accurate at all, yours will be much more accurate. I'm just doing this very quickly. Recording myself. Like when I get back to the first point I started with, I click on it, it's gone red, look, got my polygon all over Falmouth. I right click on it and I say finish sketch, and it should finish my polygon. Oh, hang on, there we go. You have to click on the end shape, and I've got a blue line showing my polygon. Okay. Then when I've done that, I go to the next urban area. So say I want to. I just want to delete that vertex. If you have a vertex, a point that gets in the way that you don't need. Then I go on to my next one. Okay. And I create a polygon around that as well. So you do all the urban areas on the map, double click at the end to create it, and there I've got my urban area. What you need to do is in between each one you need to save edits. I forgot to do that, that's when the Falmouth one disappeared. So you click save edits and that adds that edit basically. Okay, so when you've created your polygon with urban areas, I'm just going to bring mine up so you can see it now. There, I've got two Falmouths there. If I right click on it, I've got an attribute table. Yours won't have, yours will have 0 shape and 0 and nothing else, and you're going to add some more information to it. Okay. So firstly you need to do save edits and stop editing. Okay, and then you'll see I've created a polygon for all the different places, and you need to create a new column called urban. Ignore this one called towns, just create one called urban. So you go to this little menu here, you click add field, and it will add another field. Your field needs to be it needs to be a text field, sorry, excuse me, text field, length 50 characters, 50 characters will be enough, call it urban, and then say OK, and it will create your new empty column. Then you turn editing on, so edit features, we can do it up here, start editing, and continue, and then you can add text. Okay, so I've got Falmouth, Penryn, all the different polygons I created, labelled apart from the two new ones I just created, and a couple of other small places that just won't have names. Okay, so we just leave those blank. And then when you've done that, you go File, Editor, Save Edit, so I save my changes, stop editing, and now I've got my urban areas created. Okay, I can then go back to my high water polygon and I can turn on the colour again, so I can make the fill colour an appropriate colour for land, make the border thinner again, say 0.1 is fine, say OK, and then actually I'll leave my file derivative on as well. Okay, then if I go on to urban areas and I go to properties, once I've opened layer properties, I then go to labels, I choose label features in this layer, label the field from the field urban, label all features in the same way, so you can actually choose how the label sits around the features. And if I say apply, and then OK, all the places now are labelled with their names. If you go into properties, you can change the size of that name, so maybe we want to make Falmouth a bit larger. And later, when we turn the file derivative off, the labels of that will disappear and you'll have just your new urban labels. Okay? Ignore my two Falmouth areas here. The second one I created I did in a rush and it's a bit of a mess. I can get rid of that later. So anyway, we're going to need that base map turned on, that file TIFF turned on for the next stage, and actually we've turned the high water polygon off, we've turned the urban areas off, because we're going to draw contours in now. so the contours that we got information for. So in order to do the contours, just zooming out a little bit, you need to create in Art Catalog another shape file, and so Fal GIS, new shape file. It's going to be a line, polyline, and it's going to be called contours. And then you're going to say OK. So the contours on the map, they represent depth contours. Okay, so we've got the 20-meter contour here. Then we have got the 10-meter contour, the 5-meter contour, and the 2-meter contour. So we're going to draw those contours in. Okay, so you're going to add your data called contours, although it's got nothing in it at the moment, and neither has mine because I haven't done this yet. So I'm going to do this now, and here it is. And then I'm going to go to Editor and start editing. Contours. Okay. I don't know why I've got two. I must have added it twice somehow there. Okay, well I just edit one of them. That's okay. And so in my edit features, choose contours, choose line because it's going to be a line, and basically start drawing your contours in. So you just click and follow the contours. And we're going to do all of them, so you need to do a separate polyline for each different contour. So I'll leave you to carry on with that, and I'm going to stop recording. For your contours, you'll also need to create a new field in your shapefile. So save edits, stop editing. So this is the contours attribute data, and I'm going to add a field, and it's going to be a short integer, and it's going to be depth because it's the depth of the contour. Precision is, we're not going to do any decimal places, so 0 is fine. Just put 1 in there actually, just in case, and then OK. There's my depth file, and then I turn editing back on, start editing. OK, and my first one was the 10-meter contour. But you can go through and check yours, okay? But you basically go through and update each of the columns to represent. Oh, sorry, we need to put 2 digits when we create the field. So I put 1 digit, which is what it's doing here. So actually, I need to create the depth field with 2 digits. So I'm going to have to delete mine and start it again. Whoops! Stop editing. Okay, choose that. Delete field. Yes, and then go through the process of add field, precision, sorry, that's 2 because of the need to have 2 digits in your number, and OK, and then I'm just going to quickly edit, start editing, OK, continue, and 10, and so on. And so label all of them what they are. Don't worry about it being minus because it's a step, just label it 10. OK. So when you're finished, you should have your different polylines with their depths attached to them. The 0 depth goes across all the green areas. Where there's no green area, just put it right up against the coast. The 5-meter depth is the slightly different coloured water. There's a contour for it, and then here there's really no contour because it goes from deep to 10 to 5 straight away. But you could do a contour just inside this one as a 5-meter contour if you wanted to. Okay, but they're all mine. Editor, then save edits, stop editing. Then you can turn off the Fal River TIFF and you'll have your contours there. You can right click on your contours, you can go to properties, you can go to labels, and you could say label the features in this layer, use the depth, and apply, and you can change the size of the label and so on, just like you did with the others. Apply. Okay, and you've got your contours labeled. Okay, so then you can turn urban areas on, you can turn your high water polygon on, and you've got your contours there. Okay, so mine's a bit all over the place at the moment, so let's just put it back in here, and that's quite nice, and then we can zoom out. So again, your contours will probably be a bit neater than mine. I've just been rushing them because I'm just doing this as a demonstration video how to do this. You might want to go to File, Page and Print Setup, and you can set the background of the screen of the project, the background color. Sorry, no, not there. You go to Layers, Layer Properties, and then General. Where am I looking here? Forgotten where to look. Frame, right? Background of the frame, of course it is, and you can choose a color to have it. So it's water, so I might choose blue. Apply, and then I'll have blue water with my contour. Okay, so I've also done something that you can't do with the version of GIS that you've got because you don't have the permissions to use the tools. I've created a raster layer which represents the turbidity in the estuary, so how clear the water is. I'm just going to turn it on so you can see. Okay, so it's sitting underneath, so the different colour bands represent the different values of turbidity. If you look on the sheet supplied with this, you'll be able to see the turbidity tolerances of the different species that I want you to deal with next. One being eelgrass and one being merle. So you're going to do some analysis now and look up some things to do with eelgrass and merle. But use the sheet that I created that I've combined with this in order to do this. These values are really just for this exercise. So the turbidity values are actually I've just made up just for this exercise. But generally they're probably roughly about right. Also, it's important that you go to the Marlin page to look up information about eelgrass, and you also have a look at the paper that I've linked to look up some information about merle within the Fal to find the depths of water that they are found in. Because what you're going to do next is you're going to create some of your own polygons to draw areas where you might find these species. When you add the turbidity layer as well, the turbidity raster, which is called turb-crig. It comes in this grayscale value, and it comes in a continuous scale as well. So we just need to change that. So if you go into Properties, you go to Symbology, then first of all you want to make it classified, and you want to classify it into 10 categories. And it will classify it like this, but you want to make these more whole number categories, so you can go to classify and then you can change that. So I might put 2 up here, I might go 1.8, but you can decide these ranges. Think about what ranges you need to see, because you've got the information about eelgrass and merle that you need to use a bit of deduction and think about this, but scale them. And when you do it, you see if you go okay, it changes the values. Also choose an appropriate color. Stretch for more turbid to this. I quite like more turbid to less turbid, and it gives you, when you do the discrete color boundaries, you can see the layers as to where you need to draw your polygon that you've got to create for the merle and for the eelgrass. Okay, so that's an extra thing to look at doing. Right, so as I said, what you're going to do is you're going to create some polygons to represent areas where you might find merle and eelgrass. So you're going to identify the potential habitat based on depth and turbidity that eelgrass might be found. And you're going to do it in the same way you created the urban areas. I'm not going to show you how, you're just going to draw it on there and do it so that you can label it. So you have a polygon, so a shaped feature that represents the areas where all the possible areas on your map that you might find merle. And when you've done that, save those edits, because when you've done that, you're also then going to calculate the areas of those. So you're going to use some tools within GIS to calculate the areas of the polygons where you might find merle. So we've got some time, so I'm going to actually show you how to do that using my urban areas one. So I'm going to calculate my urban area of Falmouth to show you how you might do that with the features that you create to represent the merle and the eelgrass beds. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to right click on my urban areas, I'm going to open my attribute table, and I'm going to add a field. You're not doing this to urban areas, remember, you're going to do this to your created areas for the merle and the eelgrass. I'm going to add a field and I'm going to call it area, and I'm going to make it a long integer field, and then I'm going to say OK, and then I'm going to go to calculate geometry, and calculating outside of an edit session, I'm going to calculate the area, and then I'm just going to say OK, and that gives me the area of all of my polygons that I've created. Now you need to know what values this is in, because it's not at the moment in meters. So actually, we need to make sure we calculate that geometry in meters. So let's just have a look and see if we can turn that on. At the moment, it doesn't know. It's saying unknown units, and it's because the field hasn't got any information attached to it, so it doesn't have a coordinate system. So what we need to do first then is we just need to go to properties. I'm just recording this video in 2-minute sections, so I've just got to check that I've got time left. Yes, for a minute. Okay, and then within properties, in order that we can understand the value it gives to our areas, we need to do a couple of things first. So actually, you need to find urban areas in the catalogue. So sorry, find your merle and eelgrass layer in there, and go to properties, and then you need to go to XY coordinate system, and we need to, yeah, that's right, yeah, you need to apply the custom marine discovery coordinate system that is available, and you need to do that so that then it could understand the value, the sizes. Okay, so you go to XY coordinate system and you choose the marine discovery one. Okay, and you apply, and okay, and now when you go into urban area, well, when you go back into the one you need to do and you do calculate geometry, then you get the option to use square meters or square kilometers and so on. So let's just do square meters. So okay, so this is actually giving me the square meterage of my urban areas. You'll get the square meterage of your potential sites for merle and eelgrass. Okay, so when you've calculated that, you've done that stage, and now you're just going to create an output. So I was just thinking about how I want my output map to look, and I'm actually going to do turbidity against potential merle and potential eelgrass areas, because they're drawn in the right depth area. So I'm going to turn my contours off, but I could leave them on, and you could leave them on, it's up to you. Well, maybe we'll leave them on, and you'll have your other data in there as well. So I'm then going to look in layout view, so this little button at the bottom here, layout view, and this is how I create my output map. And I want it to be a bit more zoomed in than it is, so I choose this zoom up here, and I zoom in, I zoom in again, and I zoom in again, and I zoom in again, and see if I can get one more zoom. Okay, then I use the little hand to drag it where I want it to be. Something like that. And then I need to set it up to be ready to export. So I need to do a number of things. So I need to first of all create a title. So I'm going to insert my title. I'm going to say potential merle and eel grass habitat in the river Fal, and then I'm going to say OK, and my title is there. I can drag it around, put it where I want it. Okay, and the second thing I'm going to do is insert a north arrow, because I want people to be able to see which way is north. So OK, not going to mess around too much with that, and I'm just going to put it down here out the way. So after my north arrow, I'm going to insert a scale bar, like so. You can choose that one. You can choose any, I guess, that you like, really. I'm going to make it kilometers, and I am going to change that to km. rather than the whole word of kilometres. And then I'm going to say apply, OK, and OK, and it will insert it. And you just want to make sure that it's something like 0.51234, because if it's the wrong distance, it can all get bunched up, and you want your scale bar to look quite nice. So just like so is fine, and that's how you put your scale bar in. And then we're going to create a legend. So now we're going to create a legend. Now if we're keeping the turbidity quick file in, we want to just change how that looks a little bit. So I'm going to go to properties, so go to general, I'm going to call it turbidity. Then I'm also going to go to symbology. I'm going to click apply, so now you see the name changes to turbidity. And I am going to edit these. So I'm going to say less than 0.4, then we've got 0.4 to 0.5. I'm actually going to change this one, rather than just be like that, I'm going to say, just call it 1 to 1.5, 1.2, because it's as good as. And the same with these, just to make it a bit easier to understand. And so it takes up less space in my scale bar. In my legend. So your legend is like your key to your map, basically. Okay, so then I click apply, it will change, and then I say OK, and it will change over here. Perfect. So now I'm ready to enter and put my legend in. So I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so I can see what's going on. Remember, I'm using these, not this one, because that will affect how my map looks in the screen. And then I'm going to go to insert, I'm going to choose legend, I'm going to choose what I want in there. So I can have my, anything that I've got here, can go, so it can tell you what it is. Okay, I'll change the name of high water polygon in a minute to land. And we don't want the Fal River tip in there because we're going to get rid of that, we don't need that. Okay, you probably want your Merle in there and you want your Eelgrass in there. I'm going to go next. I can change the size of the text. The title, can leave it as legend, but you could call it whatever you like, really. Border, I quite like to give it a light border. I like to have a white background on it so that it's easy to read. And a bit of shadow, maybe 50% grey. I'm going to make the corners rounded by 10%, and the gap between the shadow and the thing about 4. Then I'm going to say next, next, finish, and here's my legend. Now we need to make sure that fits on the map somewhere, that it doesn't take or detract from what we're trying to display on the map. So we can shrink it. Oh, look what I've just done, I've just zoomed out with this. That's what happens when you zoom out like that, so I need to just readjust. That will happen to you as well. So I guess this is good to show you how to sort it out when it does. Just want to zoom out so I can see the whole thing. Zoom in a bit. Right, so I need to shrink my legend. So I need to make sure I've got the arrow there, and I want to fit it, I think like that, and I'll put it up there. Okay, right. So my map is almost done, but I need to put some Latin long grid on it so people understand where it is and what it represents. Also, I might extend my Truro polygon, because my Truro polygon's a bit cut off by the fact that the raster I was using cuts off there. So you could actually make your Truro polygon look quite nice, like a proper town, rather than half a town. So to put coordinates in, I go to layers, I go to properties, I go to grids, I click new grid, next. And this will decide where the lines of Latin long go, how wide they are. Let's just see how it looks at 30 seconds, a minute. I'll just click finish for now, click apply, and my grid is on there. There we go. So I want to edit my grid a little bit, because it's, I think the grid squares are a bit too small. So I go to properties, grids, choose the one I want, properties. Okay, so I want to, actually the first thing I'm going to do is go to style. and I quite like these ones, so I'm going to choose that style. But what it will do is make it all blue, and I don't want it blue, so I just change the colours just by clicking on all the different bits. Let's go dark grey. And again, it's a style preference thing, although there are some things you want to do and some things you don't want to do. Interior labels, don't want those. Labels need to be not blue, and I'm going to have them on the left, the bottom and the left, not top and right. So I don't want them all the way around. Bottom and left, not top and right. Okay. So I click apply. Right, there we go. But I also want to make it a bit. Intervals. Ooh, it's gone to 5 degrees, which is going to be way too big because I chose that one. So I'll go down to 30 seconds. Let's try 50 seconds. Apply. Okay. Apply. Okay. There's my grid. Still blue. I need to make it non-blue. So back to properties, grid, properties. Right. That's still too small. So let's make it 1 minute intervals. That's where the blue is coming from. But really just experiment with this and see and make it look what you think looks nice. Also, I want my title to stand out a bit more. So I'm going to adjust the properties of my title. Now I need to go into change symbol and edit symbol. Nope, sorry, I need to go to style references. No, I don't. Edit symbol. Excuse me. Right. Text background, advanced properties. Text background properties. Choose one of these. It doesn't matter that it looks like a symbol because it won't have the bit on the bottom. Then just make it white. And I don't really want any border. I make that white. Say OK. Say OK. Say OK. 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 So now I've got a border around that. And my map is ready to export. So when you export your map, it will basically export a picture of what you just created. I just noticed I can't quite see my down grid, so I'm just going to make it a bit smaller. But then I'm going to mess around and make sure that my so we don't want Fal to be off the map, so that looks odd. And we also don't really want our scale bar hidden down there either. So I'm just going to zoom in. I'm going to move that. So these are all the things that you're doing to make your map look nice and presentable. So we're basically just trying to create a professional looking map. Okay, so I've also just realised that I've dragged my picture up here, so I can just drag it down. My north arrow is looking a bit strange there too, so I'm just going to move that. Basically, you just have to get it so you're happy with how it looks, and then when you've done that, you go to File, Export Map, and you export it and you save it. You can actually change the size of the map you export as well in the page setup in File, so you can export it as an A1, an A2, an A3, and it does it at printable quality. So you save your file. PNG is a good file format. It's a typical picture format like a JPEG, and then you can open it and you can add your map to any document that you want, really. So that's how you. So at the end of this, you should have an exported professional looking map. You should have values for the areas, size values for the areas, the potential eelgrass and potential mole habitat within the Fal. Now these aren't real, they're just, there's ballpark figures. We're doing this as a practice exercise just to show you some of the things you can use GIS for. The the versions you've got on those computers are actually very limited, and there's way more things you can do. It's a shame we couldn't get you to create the turbidity map, the turbidity layer that I created as well. Also, have a go at renaming these so that so for example, the high water polygon, you might rename that as land. Once you've got it in the legend table, whatever you do here will be applied to the legend table, so you don't have to do that again. Okay, but that's everything. Good luck.